You know, the Houston Police Department making some changes when it comes to their car chase policy after several wrecks that involve the suspects here.
A recent Houston Chronicle investigation showed chases over the last few years have left nearly 30 people dead. HPD averages about 5 pursuits per day, according to Chief Troy Finner. He says the department added techniques to prevent chases from starting in the first place, and that officers will have to consider other risks with these pursuits.
We will now prohibit pursuits of suspects when the only possible offense is a Class C, also a traffic or misdemeanor warrant.
I don't think it'll make a difference. I think they're just doing something just because of what's going on.
Well, Chief Finner also wants to increase penalties for people who start the chases.
Okay, so this is a new policy, right, that's going into effect here, and it's getting some mixed reviews. Not everyone is saying, hooray, this is the answer. So we got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, so here this morning is Tom Nixon, a lawyer and former Houston police officer. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, so what are your concerns about this new policy?
Well, essentially it's surrendering the streets to the criminals is what I believe. It's not much a chase policy as much as it's a surrender policy. In other words, we're going to let suspects decide whether they stop for the police or not, and it's going to create a dangerous precedent that a lot of criminals are going to use to basically get away, because most crimes that involve suspects, for example, DWIs, start as a traffic violation. In other words, you see a driver run a stop sign or run a red light, or they fail to maintain a single lane of traffic, and you don't know they're DWI until the officer gets up to the vehicle's window and starts interacting with the driver, and that's when you realize, oh, they're drunk. So officers are not psychic, but they'll see the traffic violation and start following the vehicle. Now, if drunk drivers decide they're not going to stop, well, then drunk drivers will get away. And what that will ultimately lead to is an increase in traffic fatalities from DWI drivers. In 2022, for example, approximately 160 people died in DWI traffic accidents in and around the Houston area. I think that number is going to increase as people who drive drunk realize, well, if I just don't stop, the police won't chase me.
Well, devil's advocate here, that's one specific instance of someone who is intoxicated behind the wheel, but there are other situations that lead to chases as well. And the chief's saying there that they're going to avoid anything that is maybe a low-level misdemeanor, or maybe there is a warrant for their arrest, thinking that maybe they can find that person at a different time, at a different location, that won't lead to a chase where maybe an innocent driver could be affected.
It presupposes that officers are psychic and understand the crime that has been committed by the driver who is running, or the driver who has committed the traffic violation. Oftentimes people commit crimes, and as they're fleeing the scene of the crime, they violate traffic laws. Now, officers don't know that this person just murdered someone, or just committed an act of family violence, or just robbed someone. And so all the officer sees is a traffic violation. And so that's the underlying predicate of their traffic stop, is this Class C violation, that they ultimately, when investigating the driver, find out that they committed another crime. That happens a lot. So,
but not always.
Not always, but in the vast majority of instances, when officers are initiating a traffic stop on someone, there's usually something else going on, not just the traffic stop. Like I said before, a lot of times it's a DWI driver. And to ignore that, or to put officers in the position of having to predict the future, or summon divine intervention in order to ascertain whether the person they're stopping on a traffic stop has committed another crime is an impossible standard. And it creates a dangerous precedent.
Well, the whole point is supposed to be to avoid these dangerous situations. We just heard a few moments ago from a mother whose daughter was critically injured in a crash. So what would you say are the alternatives to this policy?
Pursuit intervention technique. Train every officer on how to use what's called the pit maneuver. For example, Los Angeles uses it prolifically. And you don't see LAPD not chasing people. They chase people every day.
Oh, they have an LA car chase on the daily there.
Yes, and they teach their officers, they train their officers on the pursuit intervention technique that allows their officers to physically intervene, physically stop the suspect vehicle. Even if it's something as simple as a traffic stop, if they run, the LAPD officers will pit maneuver the vehicle in order to get the suspect in custody.
To be fair, though, it's not, hey, we just started a car chase and 30 seconds later it's a pit maneuver. I mean, sometimes the subject gets pretty far and involved before the pit maneuver can be implemented.
But that's true, and a lot of that has to do with officer discretion and supervisors observing the chase and trying to determine where the best location to pit maneuver is. Obviously, in the middle of a freeway at 70 miles an hour might not be the best, but once they start exiting the freeway and they're on a feeder road, that is actually a good location to do a pit maneuver. So a lot of it comes down to officer discretion in the chase, yes, but letting criminals run your streets, that's never the solution, and that's the solution they're going down. Their idea is, well, if we let criminals decide when they should stop and when they shouldn't, we'll all be safer, and that's never the case.
All right. Well, thank you, Tom Nixon, for joining us. And
Thank you.
Giving us your spiel on that.
Unique perspective,
Yeah.
because you're a lawyer and a former officer, so you can see it from both
Well,
sides.
I've chased people,
Yeah.
so I understand the dynamic.
Oh, wow.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah, you definitely have a unique perspective. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Sarah.